Hi there, welcome to a very special episode of Heart Jar Moments. It's the day after Christmas. It's actually Christmas Day, though I'm really recording this on Christmas Day to deliver to you the day after. I'm here in my parents' home in Ohio. It's really cold outside. It's probably about 15 degrees and it's snowing. I usually present these from outside, as you know, and sorry guys, just couldn't get there today. And I wanted to be able to be comfortable enough to be able to talk to you and not worry about freezing. So anyways, I'm Gina D. I'm the founder of Healing Heart TV, and this is the episode where I pull my little life experiences from this jar. I've written them down on little pieces of paper and just things that I want to share with you to help you in your journey and things that have helped me on my journey that I actually need to remember myself. So this is a great way for me to remember what it is I've been learning and share it with you and hopefully spark something in you. So today I pulled out from the jar this little note that I made that says, follow up with why intentional emotional setting works. The neuroscience of it. And one of my early episodes, I did mention how I really create my day. I envision what it is I want to create, and I feel the emotion of it while I am creating it ahead of the experience. And this is something I've actually been tapped into for quite a while. I would say at least the last 5 years or so. I even did a talk on it at my spiritual center a few years back, on really tapping into the feeling of what it is that we want. So let me break it down a little bit in simple terms. Basically, what I do is if I'm trying to create, let's say, a experience of my life of possibly more abundance or greater health, or who knows, even a new car or something like that, it's not really the material item that it is that I'm wanting. I'm digging into what is the feeling that I want to feel in order to feel great. And it oftentimes has nothing to do with the material item. So let's just take a car, for example. So a new car, you might think, well, a new car would be really exciting and it would take me places better than my old car. I could depend on it more and all that. Well, if I really break it down, the feeling that a new car might give me is possibly freedom, the freedom to be able to go wherever it is I like. And so it's really freedom is what I am creating, not necessarily the car. So you tap into that feeling. Now, I want to share what I've been learning in a little bit more depth recently. I kind of understood the neuroscience behind it, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this recently, and if you haven't, the thinking is that we create that whatever it is we desire through our thoughts. So we change our thinking and we change our environment. The old way of thinking has really always been, well, I'm going to wait until this happens and then I'll be happy, right? We've been hearing a lot about this. It's not about the house. It's not about the relationship. It's not about, the car or the job. Although those things, there's nothing wrong with having those things be good, and we want them to be good. But what we have to do in order to create them is we have to feel how we will feel now before it manifests. And that's actually how we manifest it. So you probably heard of vision boards and dream boards and visualizing and all these things. But really, the neuroscience, there's actual neuroscience behind that. And there's a great book that I want to recommend. I just am showing it on my phone because I have it as the Kindle edition, and it's called Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And Dr. Joe is a wonderful teacher. He really does such a great job of demystifying the mysteries of how people create great health, create great wealth in their life, but he breaks it down in the sciences. So we really understand that this is possible. And he's done years and years of study on it and research, and he breaks it down simply, and it really helps you to understand how you can do it for your own life when you learn how it actually works. So I'm going to give you a really layman's explanation of it. And I love explaining it because the more I explain it to others, the more it sinks in for me and the more I understand. So, and I even wrote it down here. So the neuroscience of it, there's really several, there's steps, right? So, and it says on here, first you have a thought, then you have an action. After you take an action, you're going to have an experience. And after the experience, you're going to feel an emotion. So we know this, that if you had, let's say your Christmas was really wonderful and you have a warm feeling inside, so you have an emotion because you had an experience with people you love. Let's say maybe you didn't have such a great Christmas and you're feeling kind of sad today, or you're feeling a little upset about it. Well, you didn't have a very good experience, so there was an emotion that was created from it. So how does this really work in our brains? So we have basically what they call 3 brains in our head, okay? So you take the entire brain and we have the neocortex, which is the wrinkly part that we see that's all around the outer part of our brain. And that's what I'm using right now to think my thoughts, to get my words out, and to connect to you. So when we're in a conversation, we're using our neocortex to create thought. You know, this is one of the things that makes us stand out from all other creatures on the planet. We have the ability to think and then take an action. We don't just run on instinct, and we don't just run automatically. We can actually think about what it is we want to create. And animals and other creatures on the planet aren't capable of doing that. Their brains aren't set up that way, but we are. But we do also have, very much so, those automatic parts of our brain. So we think with our neocortex, and then in the center, we have what's called the limbic system. Okay? So when we have a thought, we actually, there's little neurons and things that fire in our brain, and each thought has its own little network that it creates. So imagine little electrical storms going off in your brain. Well, every time that happens, it sends a signal to the limbic system of your brain, and that limbic system creates a chemical or a hormone. And it signals the body to produce these chemicals or hormones. So we could take joy, for example. So if you're thinking about your joyful Christmas and your joyful experience, all of a sudden, you just sent a signal to the limbic system that says, joy, happiness, fulfillment. And that triggers things like oxytocin and serotonin and things that the good feeling chemistry and good feeling hormones in your body. So this is the chemistry of that. Now, if you are thinking about having a poor experience or frightening experience, or that, you know, somebody hurt your feelings or whatever it is, and you start thinking those thoughts of, let's say, anger or guilt or shame, those thoughts, those connections in your brain actually send signals to the limbic system again, and it will create a different chemical response. It's right. Every thought has its own chemical response. So that will create and send a signal to the body, to the survival centers, to trigger the hormones and chemistry of, let's say, adrenaline, cortisol, all the things that we need to survive. Okay, so that's how that happens, and that's where the chemistry changes, and you feel anxiety and all these things. And actually, each one of them, guilt has a different chemical reaction than anger, than sadness. They all have their own chemistry built into them. Now, when we go into the deeper part of the brain, the oldest part of our brain, we go into the area where the amygdala sits. And that's when we're not even thinking about it, you know, like maybe you're going to get into a car accident, or you fall, or that old response of, and we've heard this about, it's when we used to have to survive in the wild, right, and protect ourselves from wild animals that might be attacking us. We automatically go into the fight or flight response. And our body will just kick in automatically, and that amygdala will trigger and send the chemistry to the body to shut down the neocortex, so you can't have creative thought. It will kick in the system to actually protect the body. So your heart starts pumping, your pupils dilate because you need to see more, take more in about your environment. Your heart's beating because you need to run fast, and that's why we can have endurance and run out. That's how we survived, right? We were able to run further than the animals for longer distances. So even though we're not being chased by, tigers or being hunted, we still have that trigger in ourselves. It's an automatic response. The only thing is now it could be because you had a poor experience with somebody who upset you. It could be a relative, and all of a sudden you just start feeling this response and you don't know why, right? So how do we change that? Well, if we retrace it back, it all starts with a thought. And the cool thing is our brains are set up in ways where we have neuroplasticity. That's what it's called. So we can actually rewire, retrain the networks in our brain so we can send new signals to the limbic system to create new experiences, new emotions. So that's my really simplistic introduction to how all of that works. So let's bring it back now to creating your day. And what I had written on here was intentional emotional setting. So our past, all of our experiences in life, Dr. Joe says in the book, by the time we're age 35, we are on such automatic pilot because we have so much stuff that's been programmed in us, and our brain is on automatic, that we actually just our body and our mind are in this auto state. So take a moment and think about something that makes you feel good. It's a thought, like I said, maybe it was a good Christmas memory. And how do you feel in your body? If you feel good, you're going to notice it and you're going to say, wow, I feel really great. Well, that was another thought. So I have the memory of a nice experience, my body feels good, and I say, oh, that feels good. Well, that's another thought, and the body feels good again, and so we have this loop, right? Now, if you take that for a negative emotion, that you're upset with somebody, you know how it goes. You get upset with somebody, you're gonna, really be pissed off, and God, they did this to me, and I can't believe they said that, and darn it, this time I'm gonna really say something, and I feel my energy change, and my body doesn't feel good, and I'm feeling that anger rush, or that guilt, or whatever that feeling is, and all of a sudden I recognize, yeah, I feel angry, and there, I just had another thought. I just reinforced the fact that I feel angry, which sends another chemical impulse to the body to feel angry. So we get into this feedback loop. And oftentimes our body will just feel it. And we'll think, well, if I feel it, it must be true. And that sometimes then the body becomes the mind. And this is where a lot of Dr. Joe's work has gone into to see where does disease come from and how can we change it and how do people heal themselves. Because the body is really addicted to these emotions. You're addicted to the chemistry in your body. Even if it's bad, even if it's not feeling good. I mean, I'm working on this every day. I can take the emotion of possibly judgment. And I think we all can relate to this one a bit, right? If so-and-so didn't act that way, I wouldn't feel this way. Or gosh, if they would just get their shit together, if they would take responsibility for their part. Now I'm putting blame into my brain, and that signal is sending it to my body. And even when I'm working on going, okay, I've read the book on being compassionate and being loving and being forgiving, yet it's still really hard. And it's really hard is because my body chemistry is addicted to creating the chemical. And the only way to really change that is to get into a new state of being. So it's not just thinking a new thought of compassion. It's actually sitting down, closing your eyes, and thinking, what does compassion feel like? So if I'm setting the intention that I want to be a more compassionate, less judgmental, loving person, when I go in my meditation, I set that as my intention. So we have to have a very clear intention in our mind to create a thought. And then what I have to do is go, all right, what does it feel like to have that feeling of compassion. And I get quiet, and I call up the feeling, and I could feel my chest relax, and I breathe a little deeper, and I emulate the feeling of compassion. And now I'm starting to tell my body, this is how we're going to feel. Okay, I'm taking control. You're not going to take control. I'm allowing my body to recognize that I'm in charge instead of it being in charge. So this is something I've been working with really intensely for just the past couple months. I've understood it for a while, but I'm really starting to apply it on a daily basis. And some days it's easier than others, but I am very committed to continuing with it and to sharing my experience about it with you in order for you to create joy in your life. And that's really where this all comes from, right? That is the intention of this series. So my intention to connect with you, my intention to bring knowledge and joy to you that I've gained in order to share, to create a more beautiful energy between us. Before I shoot these, I sit and connect with that energy. What will it feel like to know that we're in a loving space together? What will it feel like for me to know that your day was better? Not because of me, but because of knowledge, information I'm sharing with you that helps you to create it yourself. So that's really what it's about. So this week, as we're between the holidays, just take some time in the mornings, even if you're still visiting family and it's difficult, take time for yourself. Take time for yourself to think about what it is you want to create. What's the feeling of what you want to create? Close your eyes, take some deep breaths, recall what that feeling feels like, and experience it. And I'm sure that you will have a more joyful day. And that's really what we want to do, is just have joy and love in our lives. So I hope you have had a beautiful Christmas. I hope you're excited about your new year. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to share more things with you. I love that you guys are commenting and really thinking about what it is you're saying and sharing. And I really want you to share these videos with somebody who might just need a little bit of encouragement this week, who might be feeling a little lonely, who might need to feel a little joy or understand a little something new in their life. So please share this video. Please comment. Please like Healing Heart TV. I'm here to bring the emotion of peace, freedom, wholeness, and love to you. So have a great rest of the week. I will see you again right before New Year's on Friday. So this is the Tuesday episode. And intend to have a great day.